Hey, welcome back. This is Newsfile, it's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, we put Ghana first. And my guest in the studio, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. He is MP, North Tongue, and ranking member, Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. Joseph Dindiok Pemka is former Deputy Attorney General and Minister of Justice. On the Zoom is Professor Appiah Tia, School of Law, University of Ghana. Now, let's go to church. The issue of the National Cathedral has come up again. The last time I spoke about it, I decided that I wouldn't speak about it again. So personally, I've not made any comments about the cathedral anymore because you are represented as not Christian even when you ask factual questions. At the start of the cathedral issue, I broke the matter of the place that is being used for the building here on Newsfile on my take, because judges had been giving a 24-hour notice to move from their residence. There were a lot of judges' residents there, about 12 bungalows there. And some of the judges were not happy. So, of course, they won't go and tell the government about it. It's we journalists that they will talk to. So I was spoken to. And one judge particularly protested in a manner that compelled the judicial service to formally write asking them to leave the premises. And that too was with such short notice. So I wrote about it and asked why we could not find another location rather than using that place. And then hell broke loose. A lot of hypocrisy about you being against the building of a national cathedral, being a Christian. Muslims have one and you are not interested in Christians having one. Then the chieftaincy minister came and said the buildings there are dilapidated and there was a plan to remove them and replace them with new ones. I tell you what, the reason I said you can't build a cathedral on the foundation of lies. And this is the statement I made, and I haven't spoken about this matter ever again. Because that was such a big lie. There were many buildings there, and I'm going to show you some of the buildings. My production team will show you some of the buildings now. Many buildings there, like what you have in your shot. They were very new. You can see this. This was actually not completed yet. They were still being built. 6-bedroom buildings. Very, very good. And they had not actually finished paying for some of them. So when the chieftaincy minister came, oh, they are dilapidated, and the government people came, dilapidated buildings, we are removing them so that we will replace the judges, get a new one for them. I said that was a lie from the pit of hell. These pictures, these are buildings that were there. And then you had Peter Amawu also coming to say, oh, dilapidated building, we are removing them, and government is not involved. Government is not going to spend a dime. All we are going to do is to pay for the relocation of the judges. We are finding them a new place. And this place had the passport office. It has several other installations there that needed to be broken, and some at a very expensive cost. So my question was, must you use just that land? Can't you find another one? Now, we know that beyond paying for the relocation of the judges, initially for them to live in rented apartments, and then the new place completed for them to go in. That new place too was being built by state money. The minister came to say that they were going to provide seed money. Eventually, it was no longer the fact that government was not paying for it. They were going to provide seed money and land and facilitation. Now it is turning out that we are spending a lot more from the budget, from taxpayers' money than may have been planned. But that is not the issue. The issue is Parliament Some members of parliament are not happy because they believe that they are not involved. Sam Lokujetua Blakwa is here. He started all of this. So what is the issue with the cathedral?
Well, Samson, let me begin by stating emphatically that I am still a Christian. I was vice president of the Scripture Union in Presec and head of the evangelical team. We did a lot of dumb preaching and preaching in the buses. That's where
My producer was an SU president. Yes. I was an SU president.
Great, fantastic. and that's where I got the nickname Son of Man.
Oh, okay.
And it became my pen name even when I got to Commonwealth Hall at the University of Ghana. I wrote under the pen name Son of Man.
So you want me to tell you that I was NUSG president in my secondary school?
Good. So they attempt to portray some of us as anti-Christian, as if we are probably preparing the way for the Antichrist will not wash. Now, this is our fundamental point, Samson. If there is any project that should be approached with a lot of holiness, sincerity, purity, lawfulness, it should be this project. The National Cathedral project, where we will all go and confess our sins and pray to the Almighty to bless us, must not be a project that we subject to the usual shenanigans, where there's lawlessness, the violation of constitutional provisions, breaching the procurement law, and all of that. Not the National Cathedral project. If not, when we go there, God will not even entertain us. So that point must be made. Now, Article 178 of the 1992 Constitution is very clear. And as members of Parliament, that is our mandate. It says that no monies shall be withdrawn from the consolidated fund, except A, to meet expenditure that is charged on that fund by this Constitution or by an Act of Parliament, or B, where the issue of those monies has been authorized by an Appropriation Act or by a supplementary estimate approved by resolution of Parliament passed for the purpose. So, when we intercepted this letter dated 31st March, signed by the Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, Minister for Finance, authorizing the Controller and Accountant General to release 25 million Ghana cedis as additional seed money. When you read the second paragraph, additional seed money. We said, hey, what is going on here? We are in Parliament, cloaked with authority to approve expenditure. Nobody can take money out of the consolidated fund without parliamentary approval. So what is happening here? We go through all the budgets and have brought here all President Akufo-Addo's budgets from 2017 to 2022. There is not a single line item for the National Cathedral. Indeed, if you go through this budget, all the budgets you have Appendix 6, which relates to government's flagship programs. You heard the president say that this cathedral project is his priority of priorities, to quote him verbatim.
Yeah.
His priority projects are listed in Appendix 6. If you take, this is the 2022 budget, page 264. The priority of priorities. You don't have National Cathedral here. You have Maslock 50 million. You have
it's okay, don't mention them.
All of them. So you go through all the budgets, the flagship programs are here. There is no National Cathedral. Then something. Yesterday, we also put out more information. We have a stash of documentation that we have intercepted from the Office of the President, and we are serializing them. Yesterday, we put out the second in the series. Next week, we will continue. A payment of 32,070,103 Ghana cedis and 2 pesos to Sir David Ajayi and Associates. And the status paid. It's been paid in full. Transaction details, payment of consultancy services on new bids opening and interviewing of contractors rendered on the National Cathedral project. The GIFMIS account code is 2210801. So if you add this 32 million to the 25 million Kenufuriata letter, we are talking in the region of 57 million Ghana cedis that has been released. Now, a little background is important, Samson. When this project started, it was presented as the president's personal pledge to God that if you help me win this election, I will build a cathedral to say thank you in your honor, to glorify you. Noble pledge. We all make pledges. God help me achieve this milestone. But so it was presented as a private initiative. So they set up a private board. That is why it didn't come to Parliament for approval. When government was setting up a public board of trustees for COVID funds to collect, donations from the general public, corporate Ghana, they came to Parliament. We approved it. But this one didn't come to Parliament because we understood that it's private. It's none of our business in terms of public finances. So they will just mobilize all of us as Christians and we will all contribute to the fund. And indeed, on the 27th of August, 2018, I have here from your sister station online, Adum Online, government not using taxpayers' money to build National Cathedral. Immediate past General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Dr. Kwabena Opuni Frimpong, says government will not pay for the yet-to-be-built National Cathedral. Speaking on Asempa FM's Ekosi show on Monday, Dr. Opuni Frimpong said President Akufo-Addo would only facilitate the acquisition of land for the project, but would not finance it as being speculated in the public domain. So we're all under this impression. Then came 15th November 2018. Yes, I'm right. 15th November 2018. I hold in my hands the budget speech for the 2019 financial statement and budget of the government of Ghana.
That's right.
Ken Ofori-Atta then announces quite a major shift. At paragraph 157, he says, and I quote, Mr. Speaker, the president is determined that the building of the National Cathedral will not put undue financial burdens on the state. He has therefore proposed a partnership between the state and the Ghanaian Christian community, both at home and the diaspora. The formal launch of this national fundraising campaign is slated for December 28, 2018 in Ghana and February 2019 in the United States. So this is the first time we're here in Parliament that, the president has made a new proposal, that it will now be a partnership. So in the debate of the 2019 budget statement, I have here an extra from Dr. Ayeni's debate. Dr. Ayeni, who is the ranking on constitutional and legal, said that it is important that a line item is provided. You can't just say that you are making a proposal and you leave it at that it will be unconstitutional. And that we want to know how much is in that partnership. What does it entail? What percentage? Is it 20%, 30%, 40%? So we will know in line with Article 178 and then grant approval. We didn't get any response. So we had been under the impression that, the proposal for partnership for seed capital from state coffers will be brought to the House later, only to discover these releases in flagrant violation of Article 178 of the Constitution. Then you see...
I heard you and John Kuma, the Deputy Finance Minister, on Top Story.
Yes.
He said, once Ken Ofori-Atta mentioned this in the budget, that's enough. You don't need any approvals. It doesn't matter that he didn't state any money that was to be taken. And so you are crying, like he said, you are crying wolf.
No.
And that you don't want the president to build a cathedral to glorify God.
John Kuma is wrong. He knows he is wrong. You are Deputy Minister for Finance. Article 179 of the Constitution, before any government entity will spend, there has to be approval. And that approval must be contained in the Appropriation Act. I hold in my hands the Appropriation Act of 2021 and 2022. And indeed, I have brought all the Appropriation Acts. Nowhere. And you see, it's a detailed act which provides line by line a breakdown. Even with compensation, how many staff are you going to pay? Goods and services, what are you going to use it for? Capex, what will you use it for? In the Appropriation Act, you don't find any line item. That is why, since we intercepted this letter and put it out, we've been asking them, show us where in the budget and how much. This so-called seed capital and partnership, what is the specific figure? Because that's not how public financial management works.
In the payment to the designer, yes. Architectural designer, that's David Ajayi. Said yes. David Ajayi. You said, and we have seen the
it's
document.
32 million. Yes.
32 million. That may fall under what Keno Furiata said. He said, Mr. Speaker, the state is facilitating this process by providing the land, the secretariat, and the seed money for the notes, preparatory phase. So the design and things can be part of the preparatory stage. Yeah. Is it your suggestion that 35 million is too much, or what? Or just that you have not approved it?
No, a number of concerns. One, you should have brought it to Parliament for approval in line with Article 178 of the Constitution. That was not done. Then two, once you are going to procure the services of a company, David Ajayi and Associates, you must follow the procurement law. There are procurement laws in this country. Our checks indicate that has not been followed. They breached the procurement law. And you see, it is interesting that only a few weeks ago, I came across this publication, David Ajayi Inducted Architects Register, graphic online, April 26, 2022. An internationally acclaimed Ghanaian British architect, Sir David Ajayi, and we are all proud of his achievements. He makes Africans proud in the diaspora. So I don't take anything away from his profession. Says has been inducted into the standing register of the Architects Registration Council, ARC. The induction ceremony took place in Accra last Sunday after he was registered as an architect by the council to enable him to practice in the country as mandated by law. Yeah. 2022.
Yeah, this issue had come up earlier, yes, when he was the one to do the job.
And yet we were paying him 2021. We paid him 32 million, and we are paying him for Agenda 111 for the trade fair and other things. I mean,
Agenda 111, we have land issues, we still have not resolved them. We have money issues, we still haven't resolved them yet.
Why can't we do things right? I mean, and for Christ's sake, this is the temple of God where we are going to pray. It should be squeaky clean. It should be holy. As Paul told the Philippians, whatever is of good report, what is pure, what is moral. I mean, that is what we should, that is what this project should epitomize. Then you see, the priority question is also very important and is one of the major concerns we have. Look, something. This is a time that government is struggling to meet its obligations. As we speak, textbooks have not been provided for 3 good years. National service personnel are owed. NAPCO trainees have not been paid for more than 7 months. Look, he has been a rural MP before. We go to the constituency, you receive petitions, they are driving out these young people from their rental accommodation. So at Christmas, you recall that I had to call my NAPCO workers and then give them a package for Christmas. Recently, the national service personnel, when I saw they applied, some of them posted from the north, from Takra, they have Fasini, far places, and they are precarious situation. I had to donate my 2 months, salary to them. So we see what they go through. And government is saying, bear with us, we don't have money. Health insurance is owed, about 2 billion cedis. You owe District Assembly Common Fund, you owe Get Fund. I mean, unemployment is at an all-time high by the population housing census, 13.4%. So we are facing all these challenges. Look at flooding. It rains. I mean, if you look at World Bank World Nations data in Africa, Ghana is not amongst the top 3 high rainfall countries. We are nowhere near Sierra Leone, Equatorial Guinea, and Liberia. And yet, anytime it rains, it gets flooded. We need an engineering solution to solve this problem. And this is what we say we will do at this time, And you see, the other documentation we are reviewing.
You forget something. The president said this is a priority of priorities.
Priority of priorities. Sometimes
you insist that it is personal and you shouldn't bring the state in the way he has done it.
It started as personal, but if you want to bring the state, do it frontally. You understand? This is about a project for the good Lord. So be transparent about it. Let's have a national debate if we should really come on board and how much, what should be the percentage. And then we come through Parliament because it's public funds. You cannot take out money from the consolidated fund.
Anytime you have raised queries like you are doing now about lack of compliance with constitutional provisions and the rest of them, they and I won't say what it is not.
Yeah.
The propaganda is that Samuel Kujeto, NDC doesn't support. Church people, have you heard? NDC doesn't want the cathedral.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, you see, you don't even want to talk about personal donations that we have all made through our churches and all of that. You see, the National Cathedral project we haven't condemned the project. We haven't said that it's not a great idea. Indeed, I have even said in Parliament that if you look at page 251 of the 2021 budget, many Ghanaians do not know that if you come to Appendix 10C, we also have another project, construction of new international conference center. We are going to raise down the conference center, which is just next to this National Cathedral, at 166 million euros. I have said in Parliament that can't we rather resources for that, just combine it and have one project? We've all come up with good ideas on how this will work. So you see, we are not against the project, but we are saying that be truthful.
So what should happen in this? What should this happen in this situation? So we have where Parliament, which the Constitution says is the only one that can approve expenditure, has not, okayed any expenditure, and you have seen that a total of 57 million of the taxpayers' money has gone into it.
But it's
what are you going to do?
So we have filed 3 urgent questions. At least we want to hear him. Let's hear the finance minister. But we have another plan. We think that, look, this should be punished. It is most likely that after the ministerial question time, we'll move into vote of censure. At least we have the numbers to start. It's secret vote, so who knows? The spirit may lead others to punish the finance minister because these are grave offenses.
Are you not scared? Are you not as afraid? And let me say this once again as bluntly as I can. Are you not afraid? You are sitting on a platform that you can say mostly middle class, working people, educated people are watching and listening, so they can associate with what you're saying, that you're only asking for accountability and transparency and legally compliant processes. You are not saying you are against Cathedral. But when you hear, for example, when you and John Kuma were on Top Story, he will abandon these questions and go on the moral and religious tangent and say, this is a place to worship God. Why are you against it? Are you not afraid that they will use this against you in your campaign, particularly for the people who are vulnerable and
Indeed, even within our own party, a lot of people have called me and said, this matter here, we understand you, we know they've broken the law, but can't you drop it? You see, 71% of the population are Christians or even more, and that it can affect our electoral fortunes. I said, no. You see, let's do what is right. The good Lord will not be happy with us when we see such blatant wrongdoing and we don't speak up. We want the cathedral eventually built on the altar of purity and holiness, so that when we go there and pray, our prayers will go beyond Chebi and get to the high heavens.
Yes.
So you see, let me just conclude by saying that the fantastic point you made at the beginning about how much has gone in so far, people must put that in context. So this 57 million we have spent so far, which we have exposed, is nowhere near the total sums, taxpayers' money that has been spent. Let me reveal on your platform for the first time that the Malian ambassador's residence was pulled down as well. And government entered into an agreement with the Malian government to replace. So at our cost, they are buying land for them at Airport Residential.
There were several other places there, very serious installations that government was going to pay in the hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes. So that's why one of our 3 urgent questions is how much so far, the total amount that we have spent. Look, it will blow the minds of people. So now the Malians are waiting for us to erect a new ambassador's residence for them. Passport office, we spent 10 million cedis relocating the passport office to where it is now near the Ghana
and how much we relocated the judges to?
Yes.
First of all, the rental accommodation we did, and then the new buildings.
The new buildings opposite GIS, which we are constructing for them. So we are talking about hundreds of millions of Ghana cedis. And next week we will be revealing more. So you see, we
so
cannot,
that at least through this process, we will know exactly how
Exactly.
much the state has been committed, the taxpayers' money has been committed. All right. Okay, thank you. Kwenka, it doesn't look this good. It doesn't look that good, does it?
Once again, thank you very much. Samson, you rightly read something, and he also read it. You see, when the budget is submitted to Parliament, and there are a need for corrections to be done before it is passed, those things are done. The debates are made by the various parties. The various persons actually debate on the budget, raise issues of law, those that are in conflict with certain laws and etc. After that, you have a revised appropriation, and then the act is then passed. Now, that paragraph that both of you have actually read, which mandates that government was going to commit itself to making a contribution to the construction of a cathedral. The budget was approved.
Preparatory phase.
Preparatory phase. The budget was approved with the inclusion of that paragraph. It wasn't taken out. So when you have approved the budget with the inclusion of that paragraph which has not been taken out, what is the implication? Are you not mandating the finance ministry to spend, or the government to spend on the project without preparatory stage?
No.
I'm getting there. I'll draw attention to something. You see?
Okay.
In every budget, there is an allocation to the office of the president, correct?
Yes.
And sometimes, quite huge, it is allocated to the office of the president. So this releases that you are talking about, office of the president, it doesn't go beyond the budget that is allocated to the office of the president. And so the finance ministry can just conveniently say that as part of what we allocated to office of the president, 25 million of it has been sent to the National Cathedral, which you have approved. You understand the rationale that I'm talking about? It may not be project specific, as we are talking about. But there are allocations that have been made to the office of the president.
Yeah.
General allocations that have been made to the office of the president
for
without
specific items.
No. You see,
I have the appropriation act here. For specific items. Compensation, capex, goods and services. It's a breakdown.
Then how come on a number of occasions you've spoken about expenses that have been incurred by the presidency and they are profligate and all that, and the budget to the presidency is huge? How come? You've raised that a number of times. So you see, what I'm talking about is that we should be very careful. Otherwise,
as an MP, former MP, as someone who has also come to the place of important office, such as the Attorney General, are you happy that your country is committed, your money has been committed to a project, and you don't know how much is involved?
No, the point about how much is involved will be answered if the minister goes to Parliament. That is not within my domain.
Shouldn't it
is when the minister goes to Parliament, that is
after spending.
You see, the MPs are agents of accountability. The minister will have to go there and answer those questions and give us details.
He must spend before he goes to them.
No. First of all, if it is project specific, you put it in the budget and get approval and spend. But remember that we have expenses that may not necessarily be in the budget, but have been approved for the office of the president in an amorphous manner, in such a way that an amount of money could be taken from such an allocation to a particular project that was not specifically mentioned before approval was granted. And that's why I'm saying that it is too hasty. It is too hasty to run.
Will you manage your home, not a company, like that?
No, Samson. You see, for example, if I decide that I have 5,000 cedis for miscellaneous in my house, okay? I have 5,000. I've done all the allocations.
Let's take it this way. That you have a project you describe as priority of priorities. And yet you must look for miscellaneous to spend on it.
See, you haven't,
and the money you are spending on it is not your money. It's not your pocket money. Even though it's your personal pledge that you have made to God, it's not your personal money. You are taking someone's money and you say, let me spend it before I come and tell you how much I have spent, ask for your approval.
If you listen to me and I land, you will understand me. The point I am making is
difficult to understand where you're coming from.
When you put your questions before the minister and he comes to provide answers, at that stage, you will have every justification to query whatever answers he would have provided. Until he has provided you with answers that are unsatisfactory for you to query, he could come and provide you with answers that are satisfactory and compliant with the law, because he is the one superintending over our resources.
Yes, but there must be an appropriation.
You have not yet gotten there, and you run into conclusion, you will be wrong.
Again, referring to you as someone who has come to the important place of the Attorney General, that your constitution speaks about how spending must be done. You are saying that the government or finance minister is allowed to appropriate before he goes to them to tell them about
then
it.
You've not listened to me. Maybe
convince me. I can't understand.
I also don't understand. I have stated that in every budgetary allocation, okay, you have specific allocations to various sectors and facets. But it doesn't tie you to the fact that we have areas for miscellaneous, which will give you the discretion to spend, but you will then eventually account. What is the purpose of miscellaneous? Why do we put it in budgets? We put it in budgets to make allocations so that other eventualities that come up, we will spend and later account.
So your explanation your explanation is that, let's help our listeners. Let's help our viewers. Your explanation is that 57 million has been spent. We know there's far more than that will be spent. If you talk about all the buildings that were pulled down, all the new lands that are going to be found, all the new buildings that are going to be put up there. You are saying that 57 million, which is described as additional spending, is miscellaneous.
What I'm saying is that I'm sure you probably have not allowed me to make my point.
No. If you can explain this, that the money spent is miscellaneous.
What I'm saying is that you see, if the particular amount of money you have spent is not captured specifically in the budget, okay, as he has rightly pointed out, you can invoke the particular constitutional injunction that mandates you to do so for accountability purposes.
Okay.
I am all out for that. But what I'm saying is that government can, as part of the allocations made for miscellaneous, if it indeed is up to that particular amount that they need, spend same and come and tell you that what you allocated to me for miscellaneous has been used for this other purpose. Okay. Government can't do that.
Right. So
that's how you run government.
Let's go to Professor Pierre.
I haven't finished. I haven't finished at all. You see, the impression is being created as though the cathedral, when constructed and it is finished and being occupied, is going to be the property of His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa.
Nobody has created that impression.
I'm saying the impression is being created.
I doubt that anybody has that kind of impression.
Nobody has said that.
It's called National Cathedral.
Because you see, there's a misunderstanding of this issue of it was his personal pledge. There's a misunderstanding. People are misunderstanding it. And I'm saying that at the end of it...
Was it part of the campaign? Was it part of your manifesto?
Hold it. At the end of the project, when it is completed and handed over, and His Excellency Nana Addo leaves office in 2025, it will be a national project. It's not going to be for him. We should understand that.
That's a no-brainer. Nobody should think that way. At least not the viewers and listeners of this platform. To think that there is an impression that it is going to be his private property.
I'm not saying that. You see, Samson.
Yes.
I'm not saying that. Simplicity.
Okay.
But you see, you are speaking with respect to. I mean, you mentioned something earlier, and I do appreciate that. Propaganda. Your listeners are discerning enough. I agree. But some propaganda elements will go to town and create the impression as if this is a monument that is being done in the name of a particular person. But it is a national cathedral. Later, our children will come to use it, and our children's children will come to use it.
All right. Professor PJ, maybe you understand Penka. I don't. And those of you who are sending us messages, you can also send me a message. Maybe I have a bias over this matter. But I can tell you, there's one thing I do. Even though I have a position of some matters, I can take a view, I can take a position that doesn't get into the discussion at all. I'm just probing. So, Prof, do you understand where he's coming from as far as the spending from the national coffers towards the cathedral is concerned? Please unmute your microphone.
No, I don't. I don't understand him, and if what he's saying, I don't understand him, and if I do, I don't agree with him, because I think the rules are clear. We are working with the Constitution. The Constitution is clear in Article 178 about how we should go about our business. The way he's framing the discussion and trying to explain and justify it is part of the corruption issue we're talking about. That this amount of money has been given to the office of the presidency, and this is how he can use it, and he can decide how much this goes into this or that. Honorable Ablakwa had previously, in about a week or so, talked about some ballooning of the number of presidential staffers and giving names and titles to people in charge of religion and things like that. This is part of the problem where corruption sets in, because you have a situation where the money can be moved about in a way that you cannot account for it, or you have decided what to do with it. I think the rule is clear. And here is talking about parliamentary approval, 1. Number 2, the procurement issue has not been satisfied. Number 3, the priority issue. And the priority issue, Dr. Kuma was making the point that it is government that sets priority. So where is the opposition coming from to challenge that? I think he got it completely wrong. It's the people's money. The government was it, and the people are represented by parliament. And the parliament includes the opposition. So they should debate the matter and refer to Article 178 to determine how the money is to be spent and approval given. That is, the rule is clear and simple, and I don't think we can try and read into that anything else. So the question then is, why is the government in such a situation or haste to build this cathedral? I don't think that's religious purpose. Most in a second, I belong to the Church of Christ. When David wanted to build a temple for the Lord, he said, the temple, I'm too big to reside in a temple. So we can all make the religious arguments to say that there is no basis for Dr. Kuma saying that as for the poor, we always have them with us. No, I don't think we can justify that, Mary Magdalene. So the point is that the government wants to build this cathedral because it wants to win a particular constituency to its side, and that is the religious bodies. So there is this attempt to infiltrate the camp of the religious bodies deeper, so that come elections, they will be able to make a case and win people to their side, because they know that Ghana is intensely religious, and the people would therefore sway in that direction. Of course, it's not only Christians that the president is trying to satisfy. He's also made inroads into the Muslim community with regard to the Hajj and others. So it's part of building a coalition, building a constituency that can help the government to win power. That's the bottom line. Because if you're saying that this is a project that can pay for itself, what about the office of the special prosecutor? It can pay for itself. What money has gone into that? So we need to look at the question of priorities and make sure that we set our priorities right. And if we know that we cannot set it right, then it means that the matter has to go to the people through their representatives in parliament to decide that. The government is making a lot of attempts to infiltrate into a number of sectors and areas where I think we need to be wary of. We can talk about the universities, where there's an attempt to bring in the public university bill and others. And so we need to make sure that at the end of the day, what is being done right. And I agree with the point that the lack of transparency about this whole thing being built on deception doesn't make the issue, the cathedral, to be a religious issue. It is politics. That is my take on this.
All right, so this is how we'll conclude on this subject. We'll go to the break and return to see briefly how we can touch on the final issue we have. But the Joy News has been doing editorials like Samson Stake every week. And Joy News has a position, so to speak. And this is the editorial that I want to share with you to finish on this discussion. Myself, like I said, from the very beginning when I broke the news about the place, and to be frank, I heard religious people, men of God, join the ministers, tell blatant lies. And I just quit after I made a statement that we should not build a cathedral on the foundation of lies. Let's hear the Joy News editorial.
I want you to imagine something for a minute. Picture a father, a man with a large family, many children. This man says he loves his family, but cannot provide for their needs. Many of his children go hungry every day. He cannot afford to take the sick ones to hospital. He has managed to send some of them to school, but can't feed them while they learn. He cannot provide a roof over their heads. When it rains, some of them get washed away. The older ones who are surviving his neglect are told to not only fend for themselves, but to send him more and more money each year to cater for the family. But while this man asks his impoverished children to tighten their belts and sacrifice for the family, he drives around in expensive cars, treats himself in the best hospitals, takes loving care of his friends, and makes no apology to his children for their back-breaking work that pays for his lavish lifestyle. Now, just as these children are at their hungriest, sickest, and most impoverished, this Father of the Year announces that he is going to donate a massive chunk of the money they have been paying into the family account to a church project. Why? Because some years ago he promised God he would do so. Tell me honestly, what would you think of such a father? President Nana Akufo-Addo is clearly a man of his word. He pledged free SHS to Ghanaians, and he has delivered. Maybe we can talk about the quality of the education the children are being subjected to later. But for today, let's just say he's delivering. Now, while he was going around the country promising us free SHS, he was also telling God that if he won the 2016 elections, he would construct a cathedral to the glory of his name. Indeed, after he won the election, he chose to follow through on his promise. President Nana Akufo-Addo made a donation of 100,000 Ghana cedis from his personal money to the National Cathedral project.
The purpose of the cathedral, as I indicated at the sword cutting, was to offer thanksgiving to the Almighty for his blessings to us as a nation, and to address a missing link in the nation's architecture by building a church for national purposes. The challenge of building Ghana's national cathedral, therefore, relates to the mobilization of our people in support of the project.
Clearly, what the president had in mind was not a 100,000 Ghana cedi cathedral. The fulfilling of his personal pledge to God would cost much more than that. And the president is a man of his word. So, without Ghanaians' permission, he demolished buildings on state grounds, including judges' homes, to make room for his massive personal debt to God to be built. Why should Ghanaians be the ones funding the president to pay a personal debt that he owes to God? But the president didn't stop at the appropriation of state land for his personal project. In Parliament, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta pledged state funding to the cathedral.
Mr. Speaker, this state and church partnership envisaged by the President to develop the National Cathedral is on course. An initiative, the 100 cedis a month club, also dubbed Kitwe Biarensa, will be launched by the trustees of the National Cathedral on August 12, 2021 to give as many Ghanaians as possible the opportunity to be part of the history to build the National Cathedral. The aim of the club is to raise 1 million Ghanaians who will give 100 cedis a month for the construction of the National Cathedral.
This week, a leaked document revealed that a donation of 25 million Ghana cedis has been approved as additional seed money. Another leaked document revealed that the architectural firm in charge of the project has already been paid 37 million Ghana cedis for this project. Now, the good book says, "For all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God." We are all sinners, granted. But the same Bible says we should work out our own salvation with fear and trembling. So again, I ask, why are we abandoning our own salvation to work out Nana Akufo-Addo's? Why are we footing the bill for the president's pledge to God? Ghanaians are predominantly devout and generous Christians. Many people have actually given money to this project already, but many more have not. Some Christians have blatantly refused to donate because they object to being roped in to fund the fulfillment of the president's private pledge. They say their refusal is due to Ghana's multitude of unsolved problems. The roads are bad. Many companies have shut down due to the poor economy. People are out of work. Because we don't have enough money to build drains, Accra floods every year and people die. Due to a lack of money, hospital projects have been put on hold. Because there's no money, the state owes very vulnerable people LEAP stipends. These people are going without food daily. School lunch caterers are on strike. They are enraged because the government expects them to feed each child on 97 pesos per meal. The government's excuse for this ridiculous amount is that there isn't enough money. There isn't enough money to feed our children, but we have sufficient funds to pay the president's personal debts. Please, God, speak to us. Is this really what you want? Do you really want our leaders to starve us, neglect our basic needs, and leave us to our own fate just so that you can have another cathedral? Because this is what your servant, our president, is doing. So God, today we are asking you, what would you think of the actions of our leader?